Later they will. Okay, so you can pause it and check your answers here. Okay, and then here is the next two. This was the homework from last night. All right, and then you can pause it here too and get this page set up. Okay, so, yeah, so cool.
So even what we learned today and tomorrow is going to be on the test?
Yes, yep. All right. So we're going to be looking at special lines today, and we're also going to look at how to write an equation if you're given a table of points that represent a linear equation. Okay, so we're going to do exactly what we did yesterday. We're going to go through the whole process. So the first thing I want to do is I want to identify my slope. And I'm going to identify my y-intercept so that I can write the equation. So for my slope, I'm going to subtract my y's on the top. I'm going to subtract my x's on the bottom. And I'm going to get a slope of 0 over -8, which is just 0. Okay. Now, real quick, is a slope of 0 horizontal or is it vertical? What do you guys think? Is it horizontal or vertical? Some of you are afraid to answer, I think. Okay, just a reminder, if it's a slope of 0, it's horizontal because it's a flat line. Hermione can stand on there and not move because it's not tilted one way or the other. So 0 slope looks like this. Now, the other one is the vertical one. That's when you have no slope and Hermione falls to her death, okay? But 0 slope looks like this. Yes. She could, yeah. All right, so in this case, we said we had a slope of 0, so we already know that that's going to be a nice horizontal line when you're thinking through the graph of it, okay? Now let's go ahead and plug in the slope, which is 0, and one of the points so that we can find the y-intercept. Oh, already I'm, oh yeah, no, that's, goodness. So here's the equation, and like I said, I'm going to plug in the point and the slope. So this will be 2, not negative, sorry. Man, I'm having trouble writing today. Okay, so I've plugged in this point here and the slope here, and we're going to find the y-intercept. So let me simplify this. All right. So my y-intercept is 2. It's 2. Now let's use y equals mx plus b to write the equation. The slope is 0. The y-intercept is 2. Well, anything times 0 is just going to be 0. So this whole thing is 0. And what I'm left with is y is equal to 2. Which would make sense, right? You got your horizontal line, and you can actually see it here as well. If you look at these 2 points, both the y coordinates are 2, which is an indication that that's going to be a horizontal line, okay? Because the y is always 2, it's going to be nice and flat. So let's look at another example of a special line. It's a 1, and I'm out of whiteout, and I just keep making mistakes. It's really a problem in my life. Okay. I have this liquid stuff, but it really does not work that well because it has to like dry, and then it's hard to write over. Maybe I will actually remember to go to Target and get some whiteout. Well, that is what it is. Hey, it does look like more like a 1. There you go. Okay. So there's the first point. Here's the second point. Now already I have -1 here and -1 here. So I know that this is going to be a special line. But let's go ahead and solve for the slope to see what happens. So I'm going to subtract my y's on the top, subtract my x's on the bottom, and I get -7 over 0. Well, you can't divide by 0. This is undefined, which means that this has no slope. Okay. Well, with this line right here, it naturally flushed out that it was y equals 2. The x equals lines are not as easily flushed out. They don't follow the rules. So whenever you have this happen, you just have to know, well, that means that my line is vertical and that my equation is x is equal to something. Now, you can figure out what x is equal to by looking at these 2 points. Since they're both -1, then we know that the equation is going to be x is equal to -1. So this is the only one that totally doesn't follow the rules. You can't put in the slope and the y-intercept to find out what it is, because there is no slope, okay? So those are our 2 special lines. That's what they look like. And the one last thing that I want to show you today is how to write an equation given a table that represents a linear equation. Okay, so let's do that. So this morning, I'm in the middle of teaching this lesson, right? And my best friend sends me a text message with a math joke. She has no idea what I'm teaching right now. And I have to read you the joke because I have no idea how she knew. Okay, let me pull it up. It's really good. She sent me this joke. She said, y equals mx, oops, stop. Hold on. Y equals mx plus b jokes are funny, but at some point you have to draw the line. I'm like, first of all, that's hilarious. And second of all, like, how did she even know that we were doing this right now? I don't know. She's my best friend, so maybe she's like picking up my signals or something. I don't know. She's a teacher too, so we have a lot in common. No, she's an RSP teacher over at, where is she right now? Sargent Elementary School.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually the school my husband went to when he was growing up, because he grew up in Roseville. Okay, so I'm going to point something out about this table before we even start finding the equation of the line. And that's your y-intercept. You can actually see it in this table. It's right here, okay? Because whenever x is equal to 0, then that's your y-intercept. So we already know, without having to do any math, that you're going to have a y-intercept of 8 for this. So that's our y-intercept b. But I am going to do all the work, because sometimes the y-intercept will not be one of those entries in the table, so you still need to make sure you know how to find the y-intercept if it's not given to you. So first of all, I'm going to find the slope, and for this you just have to pick 2 points, which you already know how to do. You know how to find the equation of a line given 2 points. So just take 2 points from the table. I'll just pick those 2, and then we can find the equation of that line. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the slope. So I'm going to subtract my y's on the top, subtract my x's on the bottom, and I get -6 over -4. And remember that a negative divided by a negative is a positive, and I can reduce this and make it 3 halves. Okay? So here's our first key piece of information. That is our slope. Now we need to find the y-intercept. We're going to assume that that wasn't there, but we know it should be 8. So I'm going to do y equals mx plus b and plug everything in. I'll use that first point. So my y is 5, my slope is 3/2, and my x is -2. All right, so then when I simplify this, I should be able to find out what my b is. So this is -3. Then I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I get that 8 is equal to b. 8 is equal to b. Now I have all the information I need to make my equation. And look at 8 and 8. So it did work out. So now I'm going to use that slope. So it's going to be y is equal to 3/2 x plus 8. There it is. Okay. Now you actually can check your answer to make sure that you've done this correctly. You just pick another point from the table that you didn't use and plug it in for x and y. So this is going to be 14 for my y, 4 for my x. This is going to be 6 plus 8. 14 is equal to 14, so yeah, we're good. That is the correct equation. So finding the slope or finding the equation of a line given a table is not at all different from just finding it between 2 points. So if you can do between 2 points, you can do a table just fine. Okay? Let me show you the table of contents. And then I have to play the pie song before you leave today. And let the torture begin because I'm going to play it a lot.